He studied her in silence. Something in his expression had changed. If it's true, if you're here for another reason. "And what if I am?" she replied, her voice harsher than she intended. "Are you going to kick me out?" Dante stood up, cold, distant. "I'm not going to kick you out, Ava. But if you're playing games with me, understand one thing. I only play to the end." And he left the room, leaving behind his scent and pain far beyond her ankle. Welcome to Love Above All, Passion and Power Stories. Before we start this story, I want to propose a challenge. If you enjoy the first few minutes, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. She was sent to destroy him, but fell madly in love with the man she vowed to bring down. Amid vineyards and dangerous secrets, Ava and Dante live a forbidden love that defies everything, families, power, and the past itself. Get ready for an intense story where a kiss could start a war, and love might be the most unexpected salvation. Ready to begin? Then let's go. Ava stepped out of the car, feeling the dry heat of Napa Valley wrap around her like a warning. It wasn't the kind of heat that burned from the outside. It cooked you from the inside out, like a silent promise that anything here could explode. She adjusted her sunglasses, staring at the iron gate of Morelli Vineyards. The place was even more imposing than she imagined. Vineyards stretched as far as the eye could see, and atop the hill, the stone mansion stood like a ruler surveying its domain with centuries-old arrogance. Ava Lancaster, daughter of the man Dante Morelli despised, sent as a gesture of peace, though it felt more like forced humiliation. But she had another purpose: to discover why her father had walked away years ago, humiliated after a deal with Dante. And if possible, use this chance to flip the game. She walked through the gates like someone stepping into enemy territory, and in a way, she was. A nervous staff member waited for her and led her silently through the property. Ava took in everything: the rustic architecture, the aging barrels, the cold corridors of the cellar, but nothing prepared her for him. He stood with his back to her, leaning over a wooden table, studying maps of the vineyard. White shirt, sleeves rolled up, dark pants perfectly fitted, tall, broad shoulders, steady posture, and when he turned to face her, Dante Morelli. Her breath caught in her chest. Eyes as dark as the richest wine, stubble on his jaw, and a barely noticeable scar on the corner of his eyebrow, a detail that made his beauty even more dangerous. He stared at her without hesitation. She removed her sunglasses. Silence. "Ava Lancaster," he said, her name dripping from his lips like honey-laced poison. "Dante Morelli," she replied, matching his sweet acidity. He took a step forward, then another. He stopped so close she could feel the heat radiating between them. "I didn't think your father would have the guts to send you here, and I thought you'd be older." He raised an eyebrow. "And you, less bold." She smiled, tilting her head slightly. "I didn't come to please." "Good. I hate forced obedience." Their eyes locked, a silent pact already forming between their bodies. Dante suddenly turned, walking to a shelf. "You'll stay in the south cottage, away from the main house, away from me." "Afraid of me, Morelli?" He paused, chuckled low without turning. "I'm afraid of what smells like my enemy and dares come close. Or what smells like desire." He turned slowly. The tension exploded between them. "You want to play with me, Ava?" "Depends. Will it be fair?" "It never is." She crossed her arms. "Then I'm ready." He studied her again, eyes scanning her body shamelessly. "You think you know what you're doing, but I'm the kind of man who destroys what he touches. Maybe I'm the exception." Dante stepped closer. Inches now separated them. He leaned in until his lips nearly brushed her ear. "Or maybe you're already marked and haven't realized it." Ava's whole body reacted. A shiver, a heat rising from her legs to her core, burning her skin. He pulled back with a dark smile. You start tomorrow, 7 a.m., boots, no makeup. Around here it's sweat that matters, not family blood. She stared at him. I know how to sweat, Morelli, and I know how to beat men who think they're always in control. He just nodded, like someone accepting a challenge he already intended to win. We'll see, Lancaster. And as Ava walked to the cottage, her body ablaze, one thing was disturbingly clear. Dante Morelli was dangerous. But maybe what she was beginning to feel was even more dangerous. The alarm went off at 5:45 a.m. Ava didn't need it. She was already up, tight jeans, a plain white blouse, leather boots, hair tied in a high ponytail, no makeup. If Dante wanted sweat, she'd show him she could work hard, with class. The South Cottage was simple but cozy and silent. A silence that amplified every memory from the day before. His deep voice, those sin-dark eyes, his scent, earth, wood, danger. By 6:50, she was already standing outside the vineyard's main warehouse. A group of workers gathered, all men, most with cold eyes. Ava knew she'd be judged. She was new, she was a woman, and she was the enemy's daughter. But what no one knew was that she liked being underestimated. Didn't think you'd show up, said a voice behind her. She turned. Dante. Grey shirt clinging to his broad chest, jeans, muddy boots, and that stare. I thought you liked a challenge, she replied. I do. But they usually don't sleep under my roof. Not all challenges submit. Some make you fall. He smirked, brief, darkly seductive. Today you'll be in the storage, organizing and counting inventory. 40 barrels, 2 workers, enclosed space, hot, poor ventilation. Trying to scare me or test me? Both. She held his gaze. Then get ready to be disappointed. The storage room was dark and stifling. Oak barrels lined up, the sharp scent of fermenting wine and old wood thick in the air. Ava tied her hair tighter, climbed the ladder, and began marking numbers with precision. After the first hour, she was sweating. By the second, she had gloves on, arms dust-covered, cheeks flushed. And by the third, Dante walked in, closed the door. Ava climbed down, her body burning, and not just from the heat. Is something wrong, Mr. Morelli? The guys said you're working too fast. You'll finish the job in half a day. That raises suspicions. For doing my job well? For seeming too driven? Maybe because I am. He took a few steps forward, the sound of his boots echoing. Why did you really come, Ava? Why do you think? Because your father wants revenge, wants you to observe me, wants you to throw me off balance. She smiled, tilting her head. And do you think I'm succeeding? Dante stopped in front of her, inches between them. The room's heat was now irrelevant. What burned was his gaze. You're a problem, he said, his voice low, deep. So are you. The kind of problem I should kick off this property. But you won't, because I want to see how far you'll go. And if I go deep, he stepped even closer, then I'll go down with you. Ava took a deep breath, his scent, his voice, the tension between them. It was a spiral. Are you going to kiss me, Dante? No. Why not? Because if I kiss you here, I won't stop. She leaned back against the barrels. The heat was unbearable. Her skin ached, her eyes pleaded. And who says I want you to stop? He closed his eyes. For a second he fought his own instinct. But then he stepped back. Get back to work, he said, voice tense, and wash your face before you leave. If someone sees you like this, they'll know. Know what? He stopped at the door, turned only his face. That I want you more than I should. And left. Ava stood there, heart racing, lips throbbing, her entire body aching for what her mouth dared not say. She wanted him, and that was the real danger. Because Dante Morelli might resist her touch, her kiss, the pull between them, but he wouldn't resist for long the fire Ava was starting, even when everything around them demanded it be extinguished. Ava didn't sleep well that night. The heat of the storage room still clung to her skin, but it was Dante's heat that kept burning beneath it. The way he looked at her, almost touched her, spoke with that deep, restrained hunger. She woke early, earlier than necessary, took a cold shower, but it didn't help. Nothing could put out the fire. At 6 p.m., an unexpected message appeared on her phone. Dinner, 8 p.m. main house. Dress with respect. D. Morelli. Ava bit her lip, surprised. Dante had no intention of keeping his distance. He was testing the limits, and she was more and more willing to cross them. At 7:58 p.m., Ava walked the stone path to the main mansion. She wore a tight black dress, modest in length, but with a neckline that defied the respect he mentioned. When the door opened, it was Dante himself who greeted her. White shirt open at the collar, no blazer, sleeves rolled. His eyes darkened the moment he saw her. "Your pure provocation," he said without hiding it, "and your fire in the shape of a man. We can pretend all we want, but it's all in the eyes." He didn't answer, just turned, guiding her to the dining room. The table was set for two, candles lit, red wine breathing in the glass. The scent of herbs and roasted meat filled the air. Everything subtle, everything far too intimate for a simple business dinner. "What about the staff?" Ava asked, sitting down. "Sent home early. Tonight the wine is for two enemies on a truce. A dangerous truce. The best kind." They ate in silence for a few minutes, but their eyes never stopped. When Ava crossed her legs under the table, Dante's gaze dropped and lingered. "Do you know what you're doing, Ava?" "I do, and I know you're letting it happen. I'm not a man of half measures, and I'm not a woman who backs down." The tension rose. Each sip of wine sharpened the senses. Words grew bolder, desires more exposed. "If I kissed you right now," he said, leaning forward, "what would you do?" "I'd grab your shirt, tight. And then? I'd ask you not to stop." Dante took a deep breath. Ava slid her foot under the table, touched his leg with the tip of her toes. "Are you playing with me?" he murmured. "I'm daring you to stop." His gaze ignited. In 1 second he was standing, in the next he was beside her. Before she could say a word, he pulled her up by the hand and kissed her, with hunger, with fury, with complete surrender. Ava clutched his shirt, feeling their bodies pressed together. Dante's hands gripped her waist, sliding down her back, torn between control and surrender. But there was no more control. She pushed him against the wall, the kiss turning wilder, their bodies colliding with urgency. "This is madness," he whispered, forehead against hers. "It's inevitable. You're my enemy, and you're the man who makes me forget that." He lifted her effortlessly, her legs wrapping around his waist. His kisses moved to her neck, hands exploring with dominance, with desperation. But then he stopped, held her face in his hands, looked deep. "This will destroy us. Or save us," she whispered, breathless. He gently set her down, kissed her forehead. "Not here, not now, not the wrong way." She nodded even as her body burned. "But it will happen." "It will," he promised, "when I can devour you completely, with no guilt, no restraint." Ava left the mansion, her dress wrinkled, her heart racing. They had crossed a line they couldn't come back from. And now, it wasn't just about revenge, secrets, or control. Now it was about the two of them, and what they were willing to lose, to have what they should never want. because sometimes the touch that doesn't happen is the one that hurts most and becomes the most addictive. And Dante Morelli's touch was etched into every inch of Ava's skin, even without undressing her. The heat of that night didn't fade. Ava tried to sleep, but her body still buzzed from Dante's touch, the weight of him against her, his lips leaving marks through the fabric. They had stopped before the inevitable, but only physically, because inside she no longer belonged to herself. The next morning, the vineyard was busier. The special harvest was starting, a critical moment for the Morelli name, and any mistake could ruin months of work. Ava pulled on her boots, tied her hair tight, and headed to the fields. She needed to stay busy, stay away from him, and especially away from what that kiss had meant. But fate doesn't forgive unresolved desire. At 11:23 a.m., one of the barrels slipped on the loading platform. The scream came before the pain. "Ava!" She hit the stone ground hard, her ankle twisting with a sickening snap, her body crashing down. Pain, light, confusion, and then strong arms. His voice. "Don't move! I'm here!" Dante. She tried to speak, but the world spun. "I told you not to be in the wrong place," he muttered, rage masking the fear in his eyes. She laughed faintly through clenched teeth. "If you want me gone, you'll have to lock me up. And miss the chance to keep an eye on you. Never." He carried her in his arms like she weighed nothing, and in that moment, with her face against his chest, Ava understood what true danger was. Not getting hurt, but surrendering. Dante took her to the main house, laid her gently on the couch, removed her boots carefully, and when he saw the swelling on her ankle, his face hardened. "You need ice, rest, and someone to stop you from pushing past your limits. You volunteering?" "I'm already in that role, whether you like it or not." She laughed, then winced. Dante went to get ice and painkillers. When he returned, her eyes were half open, breathing deep. "Going to scold me now?" "No." He knelt beside her. "I'm going to take care of you, even if it costs me the rest of my sanity." He propped her ankle on a pillow, placed the ice gently, and then his hand stayed, right there, on her skin, warm, protective. "Why do you care so much?" she asked suddenly. He hesitated, then replied, "Because you pull me out of myself. And that is either the start of my downfall or my salvation." She touched his face, the stubble, the sharp jaw, or both. They sat in silence, breathing close. And when their lips met, it was different, less wild, more inevitable. A slow, deep kiss, one that said everything they hadn't dared say aloud. But the moment that felt eternal was interrupted by a sound. Ava's phone buzzed. She picked it up slowly. A message. "Found out anything about him yet? Don't get too involved. You know what's at stake. PL." Dante saw her expression change. "Who is it?" She quickly locked the screen. "No one." "Ava." "I just need a little space," she said, looking away. He studied her in silence. Something in her expression had changed. "If it's true, if you're here for another reason." "And what if I am?" she replied, her voice harsher than she meant. "Are you going to kick me out?" Dante stood up, cold, distant. "I'm not going to kick you out, Ava, but if you're playing games with me, understand something. I only play to the end." And he walked out of the room, leaving behind his scent, and a pain far worse than the one in her ankle, because there's more than one kind of wound. And that day, Ava discovered the worst of all is hurting the only man she was never supposed to love. The rain began at dusk, thick and heavy, as if the sky mirrored the tension hanging over the vineyard. Ava stared out the cottage window, her ankle resting on a pillow, her body restless. The message on her phone still echoed in her mind. She hadn't asked to be used, but she had agreed. She just hadn't expected to feel this much, especially for him, Dante Morelli, the man who was supposed to be just a piece in the game, but who now was the game itself. At 8:47 p.m., someone knocked on the door. Ava opened it. Dante was there, soaked, shirt clinging to his body, hair dripping, eyes as dark as the night behind him. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice hoarse. She nodded, stepping back. He walked in without hesitation, pulling off his wet shirt and tossing it onto a chair, his bare chest scarred and heaving with breath. "What do you want to know?" Ava said, trying to hold her composure. "The truth, all of it." She took a deep breath, sitting slowly on the couch. "My father sent me here to watch you, to find out what you're hiding, if there's anything he could use against you. And you agreed. I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice, Ava." She looked at him firmly. "And I chose not to follow his plan, because from the moment I stepped foot on this vineyard, you knocked me off balance. And now, I don't know where I stand, but I know what I don't want, to betray you." Dante stepped closer. "What if it's too late?" "It's not. We can still fix this." "How?" "With honesty, with what we feel." He stopped in front of her. "I tried to fight this, Ava, but you're under my skin, and it hurts more than any blow your father could throw." She touched his abdomen, feeling the heat of his skin. "Then hurt me back. But stay." Dante knelt before her, took her injured leg gently and kissed the wrapped ankle, then higher, a kiss on her thigh, her stomach. And when his mouth met hers, it was like a dam bursting. The kiss was wild, but full of pain, of surrender, of everything they had been denying for days. She gripped his hair. He lifted her into his arms carefully, carrying her to the bed. This time there was no pause, no restraint. His body met hers with desperate urgency, and the bed became the only place they could exist. Clothes vanished between kisses. His hands touched her like he was deciphering an ancient secret, and Ava's eyes only closed when he whispered in her ear, "You're mine now, and I don't care who tries to take you from me." Hours later, lying in his arms, Ava felt the world quieter, but no less dangerous. She knew, now, more than ever, she was torn between the man who made her feel alive and the blood that ran through her veins. The next morning, Dante woke before sunrise. He watched Ava sleep for long minutes, and for the first time in years, he felt fear, because loving a woman who could destroy him required more courage than any battle. But when she opened her eyes and smiled, he knew the war was already lost, and he didn't care anymore. Because when the body gives in before the soul, love arrives like a silent invader. And Dante Morelli was no longer free. The silence of the morning was broken by a ringing phone. Dante was already up, his hair still wet from a quick shower, when the screen lit up. P. Lancaster. He looked at Ava, still asleep, her skin marked with desire, her hair tousled across his pillow, then answered, "Morelli." The voice on the other end was cold as steel. "I assume you know why I'm calling." "I assume. Want to talk harvest? Or about the fact that your daughter is in my bed?" There was a second of silence, then the threat, "If you keep this up, Dante, I'll destroy you. I have everything I need, photos, reports, documents. One move, and you lose it all." Dante remained calm. "Is this about business or control?" "This is about what's mine. Ava is mine, and you're tarnishing her name, using my blood against me. She's not your property. No, but she's your weakness. And now, your downfall." The line went dead. Dante stood still, staring at the phone, fists clenched. Ava appeared at the bedroom door, wrapped in one of the sheets, eyes still sleepy. "Who was it?" He didn't answer right away. "My father," Yes. She walked closer. What did he say? That he'll use you to destroy me. That he has proof. That he'll expose everything. And do you believe him? I believe he's capable of anything. Ava sat at the edge of the bed, eyes locked on his. Then let's face him. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. I'm not a child anymore. He's used me for years. Now I get to choose. Dante looked at her with intensity. I won't drag you into a dirty war. You don't deserve this. What I don't deserve is being pushed away out of fear. It's not fear for me, it's for you. She stepped closer, cupped his face in her hands. Don't you dare push me away, Dante Morelli. Not now, not after what we've shared. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath. He fought the instinct to protect her and the desire to keep her close, no matter the cost. Then let's go all the way, he whispered. Together. Together. But the end was already approaching. That afternoon, an anonymous complaint was sent to the state's wine regulation board. Inappropriate involvement between staff and visitor, favoritism and illegal activity at the Morelli estate. Dante was called to an emergency meeting. Ava heard about it from whispering staff in the halls. The fire of passion now mingled with the scent of real danger. When Dante returned later, his face hardened. She knew something had changed. What happened? They're investigating. They might suspend the special harvest license, cancel international contracts. My God, your father isn't bluffing, and if this continues, there'll be nothing left. Ava sat down, feeling the strength leave her legs. He's willing to ruin me just to hurt you. He sees you as currency, and now he wants to force me to return it. Dante paced. Ava watched him. He was at war, with everything, with everyone, and maybe with his own heart. Dante, she called softly, do you love me? He stopped, looked at her as if the word was heavier than the world. Yes, and that's what scares me. She stood, ignoring the pain in her ankle. Then don't leave me. I'll protect you, even if it means losing you for a while. She grabbed him. Losing me won't save you, but maybe it'll save you. They held each other tightly, two bodies trying to fuse just to withstand what was coming. And they knew. Their love wasn't enough, but it was the only shield they had. Because sometimes loving someone means staying, but sometimes it means having the courage to stay standing even when everything tells you to run. Ava looked in the mirror and saw a different woman. She was no longer the obedient daughter, nor the disguised spy. She was a woman in love, strong, ready to fight and destroy anyone who tried to tear her away from the man who now lived not just in her thoughts, but in her soul. She wore black, high heels, hair in an elegant bun, sober makeup, bold lips. The enemy's daughter was going to war. The Lancaster Holdings building looked even colder than she remembered. Security guards recognized her, hesitated, but didn't stop her. She took the elevator to the top floor, heart pounding, not from fear, but from anger. Her father was in his office, sitting like a king before the empire he had built. When Ava walked in without knocking, he looked up calmly. Finally, I was expecting you. Expecting me to come crawling back? Expecting you to wake up and realize that the man you idolize is going to drag you down with him. The only man who ever dragged me anywhere was you, for years, and I'm done. Don't fool yourself, Ava. You are blood of my blood, and that means one thing. You belong to me. She stepped closer, steady. I belong to no one. And if you try to destroy Dante, I'll tear down everything you built. He laughed. With what? Teenage passion? Do you know how many women have promised to save men like him? But none of them were me. You're in love. Yes. And it's the best decision I've ever made. And when he falls, what will you do? Help him get back up, and bury you with your own name if I have to." Her father stayed silent for a few long seconds, then looked at her as if seeing something new. "You're just like your mother, proud, stubborn, and with terrible taste in men. But unlike her, I'm not afraid of you." She placed a folder on the desk, the one with all the evidence she'd collected. Emails, old recordings, transfer records, everything she had kept secret for years, and that now served as a threat against her own blood. "If you go after Dante, I'll take this to the police, and it won't be him who loses everything." Her father looked through the folder, then back at her. "You're willing to burn your own father. I'm willing to not lose the love of my life because of you." She turned her back and walked out, for the first time feeling free. Meanwhile, at the vineyard, Dante stood silently watching the fields. He was preparing to lose everything, but when he saw Ava returning, eyes lit, walking like someone who had faced a monster, he knew something had changed. She walked up to him. "We're not hiding anymore." "Ava." "I went there. I spoke to him. I gave him everything." "What?" "Evidence. Things he did in the past. Not against you, against innocent people. My mother knew, I knew, and I kept it all. That could put you at risk. I've been at risk since I loved you." Dante pulled her into an intense kiss, desperate, heated, the kind of kiss that comes after battle. "I love you," he whispered against her lips. "Damn you for making me admit it. And I love you for being the only man who never tried to change me." The next morning, a new report came in. But this time, it was against P. Lancaster. The press exploded, the justice system moved, and the Morelli name was cleared. But Ava and Dante knew their love wasn't about winning, it was about enduring, waking up together on the hard days, fighting even after the war seemed over. That night, on top of the hill, among the grapevines, Dante proposed with a simple ring, and a look that held everything Ava had never received before: real surrender. She said yes, with her body, with her soul, and with the certainty that sometimes you must face your ghosts to deserve a love like this, because Ava was no longer the enemy's daughter. She was the woman of the man everyone feared, and the only one capable of teaching him how to truly love. The news spread like wildfire across the region. Ava Lancaster breaks with her father and clears the Morelli name. Headlines split between scandal and admiration. Some called it betrayal, others bravery. But inside the vineyard, the atmosphere was different. The peace Ava and Dante experienced was fragile, like wine still fermenting, full of promise, but any wrong move could turn it sour. On Sunday morning, while Dante was harvesting grapes with the workers, Ava received an unexpected visitor, Charlotte Harding, Executive Director of the West Coast Vineyard Federation. A powerful name, a powerful woman. "I came to speak with you, Ava," Charlotte said, stepping into the office with graceful steps and eyes that measured everything. "With me?" "Yes, things are changing. Your father is out, and there's a leadership vacuum. We need someone who knows both worlds, the old and the new, someone who inspires respect and fear." Ava remained composed. "And you think I'm that person?" Charlotte smiled. "I don't just think so, I'm certain. The Federation presidency will open in a few weeks. I can nominate you." Ava felt the air grow thin, the chance to have real power, to change the market, to show the world she wasn't just the enemy's daughter. She was more, but there was a condition, of course. It would be helpful if your image weren't so tied to Dante Morelli. Your past together is a stone that may weigh heavily. You're asking me to walk away from him? I'm offering you what no one else ever has, an empire of your own. But for that, you need to become impartial." Ava stayed silent. Charlotte stood and placed an envelope on the table. "Think with clarity. with vision. And remember, love fades, power lasts. That night, Ava said nothing. Dante watched her as she chopped vegetables harder than necessary. "You're unsettled," he said, pouring wine. "Unexpected visitor, Charlotte Harding. The Federation president? She wants to nominate me for the succession." He froze. "That's huge." "Yeah, but she wants distance from you, from your name." Silence. Dante placed his hands on the counter. "And what do you want?" She looked at him, at the eyes that had undressed her 1,000 times without touching, at the chest that had shielded her, the body that had ignited her, the man who had loved her when no one else would dare. "I don't know." He stepped closer. "Then let me help you figure it out." "How?" "By leaving." Her eyes widened. "No. Ava, you don't have to choose between me and the world. If the world needs me gone, I'll disappear. Stop saying that. I've been a shadow long enough for one man. You were born to be light, and if that means watching you shine from afar, so be it." She dropped the knife. Her hands trembled. "You're the only man who's ever seen all of me, Dante. And I'll be the only one who keeps seeing you, even in silence." She stepped closer, touched his face. "And what if I want both? Then fight for it. But fight for love, not for status. And you? I fight for you." In the middle of the night, Ava sat at the table and opened Charlotte's envelope. Documents, details, clauses. But it wasn't the weight of power pressing on her chest. It was the silence from the other room, where the man she loved slept without knowing whether he'd wake up beside her or not. She grabbed a piece of paper, wrote something in her own handwriting, then placed everything back in the envelope, and smiled, because for the first time her choice was clear. The next morning, Charlotte received a letter. Short. "I appreciate the offer, but I've already built my own empire. It's called Dante, and he never asked me to give up who I am to be worthy of him. Ava Lancaster." Back at the vineyard, Ava threw herself into Dante's arms with a kiss that said more than any words. He held her face, confused. "So? I chose to stay. Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." He lifted her in his arms. "So that means you love me more than power. That means the love we built is the power." Because Ava wasn't born to take orders. She was born to choose. And from the entire world, she chose Dante. The news of Ava's rejection made more noise than any award. Ava Lancaster chooses love over power. Tycoon's daughter rejects presidency, strengthens alliance with the Morellis. A new era in West Coast winemaking? The headlines ranged from romance to scandal, but at the Morelli vineyard, the days were filled with rare peace. Dante smiled more. Ava walked the fields like she finally belonged. They were planning a small ceremony at sunset, between barrels and vines. No scandals, no press, no masks. But happiness, like wine, needs time to age, and theirs was still fermenting. That morning, Dante received a letter. No return address, rough paper, familiar handwriting. He read it in silence. Ava noticed the shift in his expression before she even asked. "What is it?" He hesitated, then handed her the letter. "Dante, it's time to stop pretending she doesn't exist. She has your eyes, and she's asking about you." "What does this mean?" Ava asked, her heart speeding up. Dante looked at her as if he were about to break something he had spent years trying to hold together. "Many years ago, before you, before everything, I had an affair. And she got pregnant and disappeared. Said she didn't want anything, that it was better that way. I believed her." "You have a daughter?" He nodded slowly. "I never knew for sure. I never had proof. But this letter, The way it's written, the timing, it can't be a coincidence. Ava sat in silence. And now I need to find her, to know the truth, to see this girl, and understand what she wants from me. You're going alone? It's something I need to face. But I want you to know, nothing changes between us. She gave a bitter smile. Everything changes, Dante. You might be about to meet a daughter you've never cared for. And I don't know if I'm ready for that. Ava. She stood, taking a step back. I love you, but I can't compete with blood, and I won't stop you from doing what's right. He stepped forward, touched her face. I don't want distance. But maybe you need it. Sometimes love is also about giving space. He hugged her tightly, like someone already mourning a loss that hadn't happened yet. Dante left that afternoon. Destination, Seattle. The handwritten address at the bottom of the letter led him to a modest house with a well-kept garden. A woman opened the door. Dark hair, light eyes. Time had passed, but he recognized her. Elena. She said nothing, just looked into the house and called out, Bella, come here! A 12-year-old girl appeared. The eyes, they were his. Bella, this is Dante, an old friend. The girl looked at him, curious. Are you my dad? Silence. Dante knelt, his throat tightening. I think I am. The girl smiled, and that smile shattered every defense he'd built. 3 days later, he returned to Napa, tired, silent. He found Ava in the vineyard at sunset. She saw him from a distance, walked up to him. Well? She's my daughter. Ava swallowed hard. And her mother. She's sick, wants Bella to live with me for a while. Maybe forever. Oh my God! Dante took her hands. I'll understand if you want to leave, if this isn't the life you want. But Ava, she's part of me, and now she needs me. She looked at him, into the eyes that had carried her through 1,000 storms. Then she took a deep breath. If she's yours, then she's mine too, and I don't run from what fate gives me. Dante closed his eyes, pulled her in for a kiss of relief, of gratitude, of love, because the past may come knocking, but true love knows how to open the door, embrace it, and start over, even when the story changes course. The sky was painted gold, the same tone Ava had always imagined when she thought of new beginnings. And now, there, atop the Morelli Vineyard Hill, surrounded by grapevines and teary-eyed guests, she was certain this was the most beautiful new beginning of all. The altar was simple, made of dark wood, draped in grapevine branches and wildflowers. The scent of freshly pressed wine mingled with candles, and the soft breeze carried the memory of every battle they'd won. Bella stood beside her, holding the bouquet. You look beautiful, the girl whispered. So do you, sweetheart. Bella blushed. I never thought I'd have a... She hesitated, looking down at her shoes, then finished, someone like you. Ava knelt in front of her, holding the girl's hands. I didn't think I'd find you either, but now that I have, I promise I'll never let go. Bella hugged her tightly, and in that moment, Ava understood that true love wasn't about blood. It was about choice, and she was choosing Dante, and Bella, forever. Dante waited beneath the altar, light grey suit, open collar shirt, the same intense gaze, but now softened by something rare in his eyes. Peace. When Ava appeared walking down the aisle between the oak barrels, the crowd fell silent. She walked with steady steps. No veil, no fear. He couldn't take his eyes off her. She was everything he never thought he deserved. And yet, there she was. When Ava reached him, Dante took her hands. Are you ready? She nodded. I am. The officiant began to speak, But they barely heard. The world had vanished. All that existed was the clasp of hands, the warmth of their gaze, and the certainty of what they had built. When it was time for vows, Dante went first. I was a man made of iron and silence. Until you came. You bent me without breaking me. You saw me without demanding. You loved me without asking for anything. And because of that, I'll give you everything. Every day, every night, and every bit of love I have. Ava tried to hold back tears but failed. When it was her turn, her voice trembled. I was sent to destroy you, but you saved me. You showed me I could be strong without being hard, that I could love without losing who I am. You saw me completely, and now I am yours, with my soul, with my name, with my heart. The applause came with smiles and tears, and the kiss, oh, the kiss was like spilled wine, sweet and intense, a silent toast to their victory. The reception was outdoors, among the grapevines and string lights. Bella ran with the children, laughing like someone who had forgotten old pains. Dante watched from a distance, with Ava on his lap, both holding engraved glasses. Who would have thought, Morelli? She teased. You, a family man. Who would have thought, Lancaster? He shot back. You, a vineyard woman. She laughed, resting her head on his shoulder. You know what else? What? That kiss in the storage room still takes my breath away just thinking about it. He tilted her chin. And now I can kiss you wherever, whenever, and as much as I want. Bold. In love. And he kept his promise, with a kiss that made the world go quiet again. Later that night, Ava stood on the main house balcony, gazing at the view. Dante came up behind her, wrapped his arms tightly around her. What are you thinking about? That the girl who came here wanting to break you ended up being the one who got broken. Broken? She turned, smiling. Broken, and rebuilt with more love than I ever thought possible. Then toast with me, Ava Morelli. Ava Lancaster Morelli. They toasted with their eyes, and they knew, from that day on, every harvest would be more than grapes. It would be memory. It would be promise. It would be love planted in fertile soil, to grow forever. Because sometimes the most unlikely love is the one that survives the war and becomes the most precious harvest of all. 10 years later, the field glowed golden. The grapes hung ripe, and the scent of harvest filled the air like an invitation to nostalgia. Bella, now 22, walked between the vineyard rows with a notebook in hand, her hair tied in a messy bun, eyes gleaming with determination and tenderness. Dad said Lot 3 needs extra attention this year, she murmured to herself, jotting something down. Dry weather, high acidity, perfect for a reserve. Ava watched from a distance, sitting on the porch of the main house, a glass of wine in hand and a smile on her lips. She has your eyes, said Dante, coming up behind her, grey streaks at his temples, but still with the same strength in his arms and fire in his gaze. But your soul, Ava replied, leaning against him, and an insane talent for grapes, which means the vineyard is in good hands, and that we might finally take a vacation, she smiled. Vacation? With 3 kids, a new dog, and an export project to Europe? Exactly. A vacation from chaos. Just you, me, a cabin, and no clothes. Dante laughed, kissing her neck. You're still dangerous. And you still want me like it's the first time. Because to me, it always is. She kissed him, slowly, with the certainty of someone who had built something time couldn't erase. Remember what you said when we met? That you'd destroy me? I remember, and I failed miserably. Thank God. They stood there for a while in silence, watching Bella direct the workers, the kids playing on the lawn, and the sunset spilling over the hills. Then Dante spoke, his voice thick with emotion. You gave me everything I never dared dream of. Ava held his hand. And you gave me a home. At night, the family gathered for an outdoor dinner. Laughter, wine, dishes being passed from hand to hand. Bella raised a toast. To the roots we've planted, and to the fruits we've harvested. Everyone clinked glasses, and Ava looked at Dante. Her heart warmed just like that first time in the storage room when he almost kissed her, and warned her that if he started, he wouldn't stop. He really didn't stop. And because of that, everything around them now existed. Because some loves aren't born to last, but to set fire and then turn ashes into fertile soil where everything blooms, like Ava and Dante, like fire and wine, like love and eternity. Thank you for being here and watching my story. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming stories. And of course, leave a like. It helps our channel grow and reach even more people who love stories like this. The next story is already on your screen, filled with drama and passion that will stir your emotions and keep your heart racing. Stay with me and let's dive into this new journey together. See you soon, my dear friends. Catch you in the next video.